Chapter 05, First Steps. Translator's Corner. Cast, an English clown into French Pierrot. Pierrot, sobs and tears. Clown, I know. The way Rimuru and Veldora parted brought tears to my eyes. Pierrot, it's not about that. Clown, then, what? Did you read a heartwarming story of love and separation? Pierrot, the readers don't know our faces. Clown, oh. That. I'm working on that. Pierrot, then work faster. Clown, you know what they say, it's not our face, it's what we do that defines us. Pierrot, easy for you to say. Most people don't know the difference between a Pierrot and a clown. Clown, there's a difference? Pierrot. Clown. Pierrot, I give up. Just tell them a joke. Clown, where should a monkey go if he loses his tail? To a retailer. Empowerment Arc. Chapter 05, First Steps. On that day, an earthquake rippled across the world. The Calamity-class monster storm dragon Veldora has disappeared. The one sealed for 300 years, the living Calamity. His disappearance signifies his return somewhere in this world. And yet, 20 days after the disappearance, the Western Saint Church declared his presence to have completely vanished. Count Miedel remained indignant. That's bullshit. He cursed while remembering the Cardinal's words. Cardinal Nicolas Spertis. Even the mention of his name evoked the Count's anger. The threat known as the Storm Dragon Veldora has disappeared. Therefore, the provisions and monetary support from the Saint Church shall be immediately halted. And having unilaterally so exclaimed, the Cardinal ended the discussion. And more than ignoring anything they had to say, he even made them wait for 3 hours. Though it is true that the emergency funds have been given to combat emergency. But the lands bordering the Great Jura Forest, the Count's property, is the primary defense line of the entire Farma's kingdom. That is, although Storm Dragon Veldora had been sealed, he was, nonetheless, a potent threat. And even from monsters that was no exception. No, actually, he was especially a threat for the monsters. The fact that this threat has disappeared can only be attributed to monsters' movements. Although Farmas should be improving their defenses, they are cutting them instead. This was the cause of Count Miedel's indignation. And though the Western Saints Church had valid reasons, none of them mattered to Miedel. How should he protect his lands now? He has the money for mercenaries. Not the right time to be hiring adventurers. As a last resort, he could appeal to the king. But just remembering the king's face induces despair. It would be difficult to explain how the support funds received until now were used. Without a threat, it is natural for defense spending to be cut. And if this were handled poorly, he'd have to raise taxes. Just the thought of caused Miedel to grams. On the way back to his domain in a carriage, his thoughts were filled with devising countermeasures. Focusing only on monsters, Miedel could not have thought of anyone else to make use of. Yet Miedel was not the only one troubled by the situation. Farma's kingdom is a country of moderate strength. And thus, they have abstained from expanding the frontier. And thus, there is little posing danger to them. As Miedel expected, many cabinet ministers are planning to reduce defense spending. However, other countries surrounding the Jura Forest may not do the same. To not regret it later, each must come up with some countermeasures. The kings and ministers of those are now hastily hosting emergency council to devise strategy. One such troubled individual is the Baron Beluard, minister of the tiny country called Vermont. There could only be one reason for me to call you. You have heard about the Storm Dragon Veldora, I take it? With an overwhelming attitude, the Baron directed his question to the man who had entered the room. Of short stature yet of serious appearance, the man never failed to maintain eye contact. Of course, my lord, was the simple reply. His voice was deep and colorless. As expected of a guild master, is that what I should say? Baron Beluard snorted and continued as if spitting out every word. So, what is the guild planning on doing? Nothing in particular. No plans I am aware of. What? I didn't really get that. Are you saying there are no countermeasures at all? Yes, we see no need for any. The guild master responded apathetically. With an appearance that asked, why would Baron Beluard be mad? And although the Baron saw that attitude, he continued while ignoring it. In the first place, whether his efforts would be answered. What is necessary depends on the person, I imagine. The disappearance of the storm dragon is surely a plot by the monsters. Would we not need countermeasures against that? That's a funny thing you have said. Countermeasures are planned by a country. We are a free guild, not a group of volunteers, you know? It was so. Their freedom lay in the fact that they were outside of the country's system. Compared to the normal laborer, their lifestyle was not guaranteed. However, basic social status was, moreover, they were granted appropriate land. Thus, they at least had the duty of paying taxes. To explain, let's consider the example of a cook. The cook who belongs to the country pays the social status tax along with the one appropriate for his income. For this, the country protects his life and property. On the other hand, the guild cook pays significantly less in taxes. For the fee that he pays to the guild, he receives the guild protection of his persona. However, protecting his property becomes his problem. Also, a country cook can one day open a store in the castle, and have his children inherit it. A guild one has no such privilege, and thus sets his store in the cast vicinity. Moreover, should he even establish a successful store, his children cannot inherit it. It from this fact, that citizens have acquired a deep-rooted prejudice and hatred for the free guilders. Nor is this system unique only to Bromond. In fact, basically every country around follows the same rules. On the other hand, the free guild has surpassed every regime in existence, and they possess the greatest organizational power. Whether by coincidence or intention, they operate right under the country's nose while maintaining an underground society appearance. Protecting the citizens' property is the basic duty of a country, isn't it? Similarly, we have to protect our associates. Don't we both have it tough? Hearing these impudent words, Baron Beluard could no longer conceal his anger. Since the morning, nothing has been going his way. Enough of this pointless chatter. From the Free Guild, how many soldiers can you send? How many adventurers excel at combat? How many can be used to protect this city? The guild master could only sigh. Make no mistake, we are not a volunteer group. If mobilized together with the country's forces, I could perhaps gather 10% of our associates. If you require any more, there has to be proper remunerations. There are 10 million people living in Bremond. Of the 7,000 are guild members, their families not included in the count. In the case of a joint exercise, the Free Guild can provide 10% of its members, about 700 people in this case, who would serve the country. As a side note, the guild members of this country cannot apply for membership in another country's guild. Thus, although they are free, there is clear allegiance. Additionally, it will take time to make the joint mobilization official, and in the meantime the tax has to be agreed upon to be set at 20%. Vertical bar. Force can be used, but that will definitely hurt the revenue. And in the first place, it's not like the guild can immediately come up with appropriate tax levels for its members. Moreover, implementing the tax in communication with the guild is nearly impossible, since half of its members are non-combatants. Even a king understands this much. For that reason, extortion is normally avoided. But this is no longer a normal situation. The monsters are moving. That, in itself, is a big reason. But, it is not the main one. Enough. Hey, Hughes. What's on your mind? The guild master, no, Hughes was surprised at being suddenly called by his name. And for the first time, he looked Baron Beluard right in the face. We had a non-aggression pact on the land where the storm dragon was sealed. Now, The Empire may choose to claim that route. Exactly. Whether they were holding back around Veldora or afraid of damaging the seal, I don't know. However, they have begun to move. Do you understand? If they claim that forest, all the surrounding countries will be swallowed up. To say the least of the Eastern Saints' Church abilities. Those countries surrounding the Jura forest that fail to prepare properly will end up under the Empire in a blink of an eye. The Church will not move. They care little for the mundane things. For them, it is defeating the demons that is their holy duty. As you say. But if one night were to decide to move, and unless the Empire does something stupid, when not fighting monsters, they have to earn their keep, don't you think? Impossible. For the Church, the whole country can go under and it won't be any skin off their backs. Not like the Church can strive to save every believer. Looking at the Baron's face, this is what Hughes thought. He looks so exhausted. It's not impossible, but he probably had been aging a year a day here. The truth is, these two are childhood friends. For the Baron, having intimacies and friendships be revealed public can become rather inconvenient. And so, the two have made it seem like they were using each other, and acted as to display their hatred for each other. This small country would be unable to weather the coming storms alone. But, perhaps this is all just empty panic. Yes, the Empire had begun to move, but it is not as if they had already invaded. Just for the monsters, there are plenty of countermeasures. The Empire hadn't revealed its intentions yet, did it? Anyways, I'll go check it out by myself. Don't expect much, but I'll try to see what is going on in Jura Forest and with the Empire's movements. Sorry. And thanks. Right, what the Empire will do is yet undecided. And even if they move, rather, their attack will become a large-scale war. Even they would not fare well against constant ambushes and skirmishes. With 100,000 soldiers, they could surely crush every surrounding country. But to that end, extensive preparation are needed. At least 3 years. Can't say that is much time, but enough to carefully plan ahead. Anyways, I'm off to collect data. Early bird catches the worm, right? Please. And with a nod, the two parted. On their shoulders, a burden as heavy as a mountain. Cardinal Nicholas Spertes was welcoming Count Niedel-Migam's departure with a thin smile. That leech, he exclaimed with a benevolent smile and sighed. Doesn't believe in God but just crowds around the Church's money and power. Nicholas was testing Count Niedel-Migam. And not just him. All those in the Church were thinking the same thing. Those who believe in God should swear allegiance to the Holy Empire Ruberios. The Eastern Saint Church took the Empire's faith and merely elected the Pope as their ruler. As far as they are concerned, the Holy Empire is essentially the main temple, and their citizens are the Empire's believers. Further, those living in other countries yet professing to believe must remember that deceit is punished. As God comes before all. Therefore, all those idiots making excuses against becoming the Empire's citizens do not deserve any mercy. That is the opinion of every man serving under Nicholas regarding the Eastern Saint Church. Nicholas himself was of the opinion that heretics that do not believe in God should all be killed. But there was a person who offered a scornful smile to those words. World traveler Sakadaki Hinata. She said this. Waste of effort. It takes tremendous force to change the hearts of those who believe in other gods. Rather than that, lend them your hand, and accept theirs. That is the most proven method. Save the people from monsters, and convince them that you represent justice. And, since wars aren't going to just up and disappear, in times of trouble offer support. Monsters are humanity's common enemy, but the same is not true for humanity, is it? No need to pointlessly provoke aggression. Normal people are idiots. If you save them when they are in trouble, they'll quickly believe. Isn't that the entire raison d'etre of the Church? The girl was pragmatic. Neither promoting atheism, nor rejecting religion. Just thoroughly use both. For Nicholas, That seemed like a cool-headed approach. Nicholas was watched with a sight so cold, it could kill. All we need is to wait. Let the earthly country's strength fall. And then, demand your dues. Those words caused him to shudder. Was that excitement or fear? Yet Nicholas obeyed. And as a result, the church has changed greatly during these 10 years. Their influence speaking for itself, in just 7 years they became a topic discussed in every nation. Having achieved these things, Nicholas was promoted from a bishop to a cardinal. And it was all thanks to that girl. Well, just as the girl said, there is a way to use even a leech. Nicholas was considering the current situation. The empire's movements are unclear, and the monsters are becoming increasingly active. I'll definitely become busy from now on. How will that girl move? Might be a good idea to try contacting her. Right now she would be 2 Imperial Guard directly under the Pope, Holy Knights Division Sakadaki. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 06, Skill Acquisition. Translator's Corner. Cast, an English clown into French Pierrot. Clown, that was pretty bad yesterday. Pierrot, having you lose the translation draft. It's totally your fault. Clown, no. That was clearly an act of God. Who could have expected that WordPress does not automatically save progress? Pierrot, that's why you should be doing this in Office Word, instead. Clown, I regret but not reflect. Macron Macron, exclamation mark. Pierrot, thanks to whom were you able to translate the last chapter? Clown, thanks to you, Pierrot-sama. Or rather, your wonderful memory. Pierrot, sigh, let's just leave it at that. We've got another chapter to do. Clown, yep. And we're back to following Rimuru's slithering adventures. Pierrot, that reminds me. Does Rimuru hop or slither? Clown, whichever looks cuter. Oh, I remembered a good joke. Pierrot, you always come up with corny ones, let me. Clown, yours are too dark. Today is my turn. Okay, so. What happens when a magician gets mad? He pulls his hair out. Empowerment Arc. Chapter 06, Skill Acquisition. 30 days have passed since I ate Veldora. What am I up to these days? Aren't you an idiot? Just think for a moment. I've become a slime. What do you think would happen if I were attacked? And hey, just try running like this. So, I've been thinking about how to fight. At the same time, I'm munching on some grass and strangely glowing rocks. You know, the ones found at the magic abundant place Veldora mentioned. The grass I've collected there is mostly the hippoced kind. As expected. With this, my stock of restorative medicine has increased. And, the glowing rocks are apparently called demon ore. Harder than steel, yet sufficiently flexible, they are a high-grade material. I had hoped it was some super rare metal. But, well, it's not like I know whether Orichalcum, Hierocane, or other legendary or even exists in this world. TL note, these are names of ores of legend in our world, refer to Google for more info. Maybe it's plenty rare. Maybe I'm just being too greedy. That's what I was thinking while munching on some delicious, or not, weeds and stones. Since I can spit out water, can't I use it as a water cannon type of thing? Yeah, you don't have to say it. You think I'm going to fail, don't you? Wasn't I ridiculed enough? I mean, at times of need I can do what needs to be done. Even my report card read if he tries he can do it. And so I can do this. With that thought, I quickly hurried to the lake. As I had imagined while enshrouded in darkness, the underground lake is pretty damn big. But surpassing my imagination, the lake had a mysterious and tranquil atmosphere. Lacking any presence of life, it was completely serene. Although the magical energy permeates the water, I dare say that no living thing inhabits it. An example of uncorrupted nature. What a beautiful sight. That being that. 'Cause I didn't practice last time, I still suck at shooting water with full strength. When the mouth is this large, the jet propulsion strength is far too high. This time, while imagining a water pistol, I tried releasing just a bit. As if filling my mouth with water and spitting just little out. But no water is coming out. Is it too small, now? After increasing it just a bit, it did come out. And with good force. I tried soaking the nearby boulder. Alright, good. Next, let's widen the opening for combat use. With the boulder as my target, I gently began practicing while increasing output. Okay. I kind of got the hang of this. But, although if this hits someone it will hurt, I certainly can't call this a finisher. How should I? While worrying over this question, I entered the lake. It's, at most, like a bath to relax when tired. No. I'm not just playing in the water. I observed my body floating and sinking with magic perception. Just like a jellyfish. If I were to make my face oscillate, could I create a water current? After I reached out to the magic energy in my face, I tried making it oscillate. With a payun, I felt small ripples being formed. And, I began moving through the water. A great success. Bemused, I played around in the water. What a nice change of pace. It really bore fruit. There's a big difference in ability and strength between extra skills and normal ones. Thus, I've found a way to fight. And with this, I am ready to set out on a journey. At last. Since I found myself reincarnated by this underground lake, 120 days have passed. Finally, the journey away from home begins. I am uneasy. Though that isn't something I'll mention. Since I have no vocal cords, I tried to see if I could reproduce them with my body. But, I have been so far unsuccessful. I've thought about staying here to practice, but I just can't imagine it right. Guess I'll just have to depend on transmitting my thoughts via telepathy. Worst case scenario, I'll be at the mercy of my opponents, so until I learn to talk, life will be pretty inconvenient. Not that I can do anything about it. No matter how many hours I spend here, nothing will change. But right now, I really want to see the outside world, and see if I can find any fellow world travelers. And learning magic will be fun. With that thought, I really should set out on this journey. Like they say, no time like the present. No reaction from Veldora either. He seems to have vanished, but I know that much is not true. We made a promise, after all. That when we next meet, I would have prepared a lot of funny and strange things to tell him about. And thus, from a familiar wide room, I walked the one road to the surface. A yet unseen world, a world of possibilities, I longed to join it all. Status. Name, Rimuru Tempest. Species, Slime. Divine Protection, the Storm Crest. Titles, none. Magic, none. Techniques, unique skill, Great Sage, unique skill Predator, slime-specific skills, Dissolve, Absorb, Regenerate, extra skill, Water Manipulation, extra skill, Magic Perception. Resistances, Thermal Fluctuation Resistance X, Physical Attack Resistance, Pain Resistance, Electricity Resistance, Paralysis Resistance. Dash 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 dash. At the bottom of a deep, deep heart of darkness, where no one could visit, amidst despair, Veldora spends another day reminiscing in solitude. Calamity Class Storm Dragon Veldora. Special S-Class Monster. Both monsters and adventurers are ranked a F, all in those 6 categories. Those especially strong have A+ attached. Those weak have A. This was a guidance from the World Traveler, Free Guild Head, Grandmaster Kagura Sakayuki. He established this ranking system. Up until then, it was Novice, Beginner, Intermediate, Advanced, a 4-step system that was easy to understand. And by the way, advanced is C rank and above, intermediate is D rank, beginner is E rank, and novice is F rank. Thus, the number of deaths due to fighting stronger than expected monsters greatly decreased. Those of the same rank would be a match in a one-on-one. Thus, fighting in a party became safer. Surpassing a rank is the specially designated Demon King level S rank, and above even this stands the monster with the strength of a natural disaster special S rank. Deviating from the standard ranking system, an abnormal existence. At the present, an A-class monster is capable of jeopardizing the existence of a country. A strength capable of inducing despair. And in the first place, what surrounds Veldora is of no concern to him. Yet again today he thinks that life is tedious. It had been 300 years since he lost to the hero. He remembered that fight many times. He was bitter, but strangely held no grudge. Fighting at a whim. Living at a whim. Those who would cross his path were few in number. For him, it was not the first defeat. But, to have lost one-on-one with the same handicaps. That was a first. Pale skin. Small, crimson lips. Long, jet-black hair. Not too tall, a petite and thin physique. Though her face was covered in a mask, her counters revealed her femininity. A beautiful girl. Since his eyes did not see, he could not peek at her emotions. Is that why? Without fear or hatred, she merely dispassionately swung the sword. How regretful. If he had broken out of this prison? He sometimes thinks about that. Would he complete his revenge against her? Although he did not hate her? If he had the chance, he would want to fight again. Those were his honest feelings. But that should not be a fight against a machine, but one where they wage their identities. To make that girl, the hero, recognize him and go all out. That had become Veldora's one wish. Human lifespan is short. That his wish will never come true Veldora knew all too well. But still, he thoughts keep looping around the same ideas. How many years had passed? One day. Goragro, Zudan. A light blue body had rammed into his. Around here, due to the magical energy he released, no normal life could be sustained. Moreover, touching a lump of magical energy that Veldora would be difficult even for a high-class monster. Amused, Veldora observed that being. And that led to their encounter. Before he knew it, to he who had abandoned his will to live, that bizarre existence became his only hope. That meeting had to have had some purpose. Veldora had that premonition. One that he had not had until now. Can you hear me, little one? Holding on to that belief, Veldora called out. Author's notes, for now, Veldora's story ends here. Little by little the name might come out. Translator's Corner. Cast, an English clown into French Pierrot. Clown, well, that was an alright chapter. Pierrot, the dragon is at Zundir. Clown, I just want to give him a hug. Pierrot, a big, bald Zundir. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.